Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen, Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello, it is me, Allison Rosen. Welcome to another episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm sitting here in Dining Room Studios with return guest Ben Hoffman. Hello and welcome back.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I can't apologize enough for my tardiness. It usually doesn't happen. You both said it was fine. We're going to move past it. It's more difficult for me to move past it, but let's move on.
You have mentioned it. You've been here for probably 5 or 6 minutes, and you've mentioned it like 11 times.
How many times did I text about it?
I think you only texted me 3 or so.
But that's while driving on the highway.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
That counts as 10.
Well, so what were you doing? Or can you not say?
I can't. Well, it's just work stuff, and I thought I'd be done. You know this fucking you can curse on podcasts. That's
yes,
the
you
fun
can.
And I was like, I'll be done at 5:30, and let's play it safe and do 6:45 for the podcast.
For my hyper local listeners, you are coming from Santa Monica to like Hancock Park area, so you are allowing ample time.
Yeah, so I get done with my thing, look at the time, it's 6:30. So making it like Santa Monica to here in 15 minutes, I mean, could you...
It's impossible.
It's not...
Not even by helicopter.
I was just... Well, the part... Again, the Kentucky in me is thinking, I was like, even if there's no cars on the road, but I forget that it's actually kind of close. It's just the traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was insane. But you calmed me down. I drove safely.
And I was promised even, that this might be the quote unquote the most real Ben interview that anyone's going to get, because you're in such a calm state after being in traffic.
Well, no, yes.
Or defeated. Calm or defeated?
I would say defeated. But yeah, usually I was telling your producer over here,
Jeff.
I prefer to call him producer until you say his name, and then I can remember it.
Yeah, I was helping you.
Thank you. I listen to myself. I rarely listen to myself on podcasts, and I don't do a ton of them anyway. But I sound like I'm on speed. Like I don't really talk that fast. And usually you do them earlier. Maybe I had some coffee or something. This is actually normal me. Slow, calm, unexcitable, boring. I'm
going to say, is this supposed to be better?
No, that's where we started the podcast. I was about to tell you, this is the most real, honest Ben, which will make it the worst podcast ever. Because you're going to find out who I really am, which is just a fucking bore. So I was about to apologize for it, then you pressed record.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know where that was going. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the most real Ben, and that the real you might be boring, which, by the way, I disagree. I thought you were great when you were on my show in March of 2013.
Has it been that long?
It has been that long.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I was kind of doing the podcast rounds, which is for me 2 or 3, because I just don't do a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I had a lot of fun on that podcast. I'd like to do, and then I reached out to you.
You did.
I was like, I'd like to do that if I'm going to do a couple, because I'm trying to get
the word out.
Get out there. Just get out there in general. I was like, I'll reach out to Allison. I haven't talked to her in a while. And I remember that part of it I remember is my car wouldn't lock outside the podcast.
I was going to bring that up.
You honestly
I literally
had that?
was, yeah.
So we can finally, the 3-year conclusion to that story. It was a new leased Volvo. And I came in here, because it's always something with me. This time it was late. And that time my car wouldn't lock.
Right.
Someone's going to break into my car. And I go back to my car, and I was outside that studio for 45 minutes trying to figure it out. The trunk wasn't closed.
Oh.
I mean, it's not an exciting ending to this story by any means.
Oh my God, thank God. I have been wondering.
Yeah, I was saying, for no other reason, I had to come back here and finish that story, because you
took your time, but...
Yeah, you've been up at night every night, but that's what... the trunk was open like a crack, which means it was the first time I'd ever had automatic locks, and it wouldn't let you lock it. So I'm calling like AAA, and
Did they come out?
Oh, I'd rather not say. It was a long thing. Yeah, we had some. I was like, it's a new car. I mean, it's a leased car, but it was really embarrassing.
My car wouldn't start one time, and I called AAA, and it turned out when they got there that it just wasn't fully in park.
It's kind of the same. Yeah.
But I was a teenage girl.
Yes, I was a grown man.
But other than that, it's the same.
Yeah, other than that.
Well, I was going to say, I enjoyed having you on the podcast. I was a huge fan of the Ben Show.
Thank you so much.
And I am newly a fan of Wheeler Walker Jr., the name of the country artist that is also you.
Yes, that's what we were getting to, the nitty-gritty of like, how do you approach this? And basically, to answer your question...
The question which the listeners don't know, but which you... Tell them what my question was.
Just like, how do you treat it?
Yes, since you perform in character, basically.
When I'm Wheeler Walker Jr., I'm Wheeler Walker Jr., period. And I don't promote... That's another reason why this podcast is so special. I don't promote Wheeler Walker Jr. as Ben. I refuse to do it.
You retweet him, though.
I do retweet him just to try to, help some. And also,
when you reached out to me, you asked if I wanted to interview Wheeler Walker Jr. And I'll admit this. It doesn't make me feel good about like how in the know I am. But I was like, oh, cool. You're working with him.
Well, see, that's why it bums me out that, or makes me happy.
It bums you out that we're doing this interview?
No. But it makes me happy that you thought it was too separate, or that you even knew about it. That's what made me happy. So, but then you were like...
Well, so initially, yeah. So then we talked, and then I asked... We're really getting into the nitty gritty of it, right?
Yeah.
I said, do you only... So I started doing some Googling, and I saw that you had just done Rogan in character.
Correct. And
you've been doing interviews in character. So I wanted to know, do you only do interviews in character? And then I saw that you had done Marin as you talking about Wheeler Walker. I'm like, oh, great. That's sort of more, what my audience is into, because in general, I've noticed that when people come on and aren't, I think the way I put it in my pretentious Twitter DM was when people come on and aren't 100% authentic, my listeners revolt.
Well, yeah. Well, again, that probably would have talked me because I like revolting listeners. But what basically happened is, like I said, it's just I don't do this. I just don't like to do it. I'm not saying I asked to come here.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing it. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. And then I talked to Mark Maron. I love his podcast. And of course, as a fan of your podcast, as a fan of his podcast, because I talked to him first, I was like, I don't want to hear me in character on that pod. Like, I wouldn't listen to that. So I'm like, obviously, he would prefer to have me because that's what his show is about. The same thing kind of your show is about. It's kind of up to... There's two sides of it. There's one which is like whatever rock or country station in Alabama or Texas who I don't know, or there's like weird interviewers or some dude in a blog or something. But then when it comes to like friends or people who I'm fans of, I really just kind of leave it up to him. Like Mark was like, I want to talk to Ben. That's the whole point. He was curious about the album, wanted to hear about the album from Ben, not from a character. And same thing with you. Like you would be better to be on as me. And Rogan, I was just like, which would you prefer? And he's like, either one. So if I with the choice, like it's just kind of like when, like I'm saying, when it was up to when it's people I know, I just ask them, and I just don't do many. So it's almost always in character, but it's people know. I mean, like not everyone, like you for example, but like what's tickling me so much is the amount of, and listen, it ain't Adele. It's not like it's this giant massive hit, but there's a lot of articles about like this guy and who it,
And so for people who might not be familiar, the album is
most
called...
of your audience won't be familiar.
Well, if my audience watched The Ben Show, which was your show on Comedy Central, which I thought was just so unusual and great, and I wished that it had gone on for longer, but it was
Thank
that
you so
kind
much.
of thing.
But if your audience watched my show, it would still be on the air.
That's true.
The numbers say your audience did not watch the show, because if they did, my audience would have doubled.
It was the kind of thing that was so funny and so good and so like a direct outgrowth of your personality that it's like, oh yeah, television can't sustain something this good.
Well, it was almost, that's where I get so confused, because, and I just don't, it's just how my brain works. I remember watching. I probably came in to hear, your podcast, probably maybe after an episode. Or
I had seen 3 episodes when.
But
I
it was
talked to you.
it was doing. I don't think it was like I'm in trouble.
Right.
But I sit down to that debate and I'm like, this is so like everyone's gonna love this. This is a hit, because I'm just so dumb. Like, to me, like, it seems very mainstream. And now looking back on it, I obviously see that it was a little odd for television, and that's what the people who loved it obviously loved it, but there weren't that many of
But
them.
I think when I say that it's like, oh, television can't sustain this, it's not a referendum on the show, it's a referendum on television. Like, people
I don't
big
take
dumb shit.
Yeah, well, I don't take, but that's what I'm saying. That's where my brain is messed up. To me, it was
that.
I'm not saying I didn't want it to be done, but to me, I was trying to make a mainstream. Like, that's what I was doing what I wanted to do,
Right.
first of all. But to me, I think I have mainstream sensibilities, but I found out time after time I don't. Like, it's not. I'm never trying to be weird. I'm never trying to piss people off. I'm never trying to be like. I mean, I got a lot of notes about being too dirty. It's just I just get on camera and it's there, and I gotta say fuck. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm not sure what
Well, so there was a character on the Ben show.
Well, it was just a song. I'd done that song for years. And
Okay, and the song is called
"Eating Pussy, Kicking Ass."
Yes.
And I'd done that years before the Ben show, and even before the Ben show started, I'd always wanted. I played music my whole life, and my brother is a musician
in Scissor Sisters.
He's in a band called Scissor Sisters. So being a kid from small town Kentucky, I probably know, whereas most people know 0% about the music industry from small town Kentucky. I know 5%, because I have a brother who's a rock star. And I've always wanted to make a record, and I had all these songs, and I love country music. That's why I like being here, to explain it, finally. And I was like, I've always wanted to do this. And there's this an artist who's probably my favorite guy out there right now, this guy Sturgill Simpson. I don't know if you've heard him at all. You definitely need to if you haven't.
I heard of him.
Yeah, definitely listen to him. He's amazing. And he's from the town next to me, and we kind of did cross paths before, and he was a fan of my show, and I was a huge fan of his, and his wife and my brother grew up together. And it was kind of one of those, it was one of those things where I was like telling my brother back in Kentucky, he's like, you got to hear this album. He's like, you fucking idiot. I've been telling you about him. It's like, he's married to, I won't say her name, but he's like, he's married to, and I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he said he's a fan of your, like, so then we talked, and anyway, he was like, oh, these demos, I don't know if I played him the demos or not, but anyway, the guy who produced his record, this guy Dave Cobb, who also produced this, since my album was recorded, he produced this Chris Stapleton record, which is just kind of blown up as like the biggest, not just the biggest country album, probably the biggest album of the year. And so he's like the hottest, and he's just a great guy. And I asked Sturgill, because he'd done Sturgill's records, I was like, I want to do a real country record. Like, it's comedy, don't get me wrong. You can tell by the song titles it's comedy. But I want it with the best players and the best producer. And this guy, Dave Cobb, he's done a bunch of great work. He's like, what do you think? He's like, his quote was, Dave Cobb, don't give a fuck. Like, that's a positive. Like, he's not going to care about the language. He's not going to care. And
tell us what some of the songs are called.
Well, the album's called Redneck Shit. It is, what's the second song? Beer, Weed, Cooches, because it rhymed with another word. It's supposed to have been called Beer, Weed, and Pussy, but I couldn't get that pussy to rhyme. The third song's called Family Tree, but that's actually the dirtiest song on the record, because it's about a guy named Wheeler Walker Jr. I mean, it's about a guy and a girl. He's sick of the girl, and he says he'd rather fuck her sister. He's so sick of her. And you know what? Fuck yeah, brother. Fuck your dad and your uncle and your mom. And he just goes through her family tree about all the people he'd rather fuck, and it gets pretty graphic. And actually, as a side note, some trivia. On the record, I sing, I grab Uncle Andy, reach around, give him a handy. But I enunciated it wrong, and my Uncle Randy, who lives in Nashville, is none too pleased about it. So I most of my family thinks I wrote a song about jacking off my uncle, which I kind of did, but I mispronounced it. But I think he takes it as a point of pride now that he's in a song.
Yeah, shout out.
But anyway, you kind of get, that's enough to kind of explain what this.
But I would like to hear the rest of the titles just because I'm amused.
Okay, well, I'm trying to. We're rehearsing for a tour, so that's why they're in my head right now, and also because I think it's maybe the greatest album ever made, so I know it by heart. Can't Fuck You Off My Mind, which to me is a classic country tune, right? It's like Can't Drink You Off My. You know, that was the whole point. It's just to do a country song, but just twist it a little bit. I mean, do country song, and the ballad, of course, the hit, Fuck You, Bitch. Eating pussy, kicking ass.
By the way, I have "Fuck You, Bitch" stuck in my head. That's the thing that, I mean, I think you explained it, but it's musically such a good album.
Well, that was my whole
lilting.
point. Is most comedy albums, and even by the greats, and my favorite comedy albums, I mean, these are people who are way funnier than myself. You just don't listen to comedy albums a lot, and the music had to be great and catchy for this thing. I was like, I gotta write because I've been playing music longer than I've been doing comedy. Mm-hmm. I've been unsuccessful at both for so long. I mean, it's, the years just add up. I remember calling, they had a Sam Ash Music in New York City, and just finding the number in a catalog, getting my mom's credit card, and ordering a 4-track recorder from them. They said it was used, and they promised me it worked, and I just bought it for a couple $100 without my mom knowing. I mean, like learning how to like record and stuff at home. This is 13 years old, and you couldn't even find a 4-track recorder in Kentucky. This is pre-internet for the kids out there listening, where you couldn't just go on the internet and just buy things.
Right.
And I'm on the phone, before I order it, how does it work? But other people don't know, it was 2 audio cassettes. And so I'm talking to a high-tech audio engineer, explaining how a 4-track recorder works. So he's going to be real bored here. The point being, you could overdub yourself multiple times, and you could play drums and bass and guitar and do 4-part harmonies and stuff. So I've been doing that my whole life. And like I said, my brother's, toured the world as a musician and sold millions of records. I don't know why I just bragged about him.
Wow, he sounds like a great guest.
He would be. You know what? He's even more boring than me. I mean, he's a real fucking bore. And I love him, and we couldn't be closer, but he's not the front man of the band. So even interviews, he doesn't even show up. But anyway, so I had these demos, and I talked to, and I met, and I'm in Nashville. My family moved to Nashville leading me to a bigger point too of some of the criticism I've been getting, which we'll get to later. My family got off the boat, moved to Nashville in 1901. So my family goes back, over 100 years to Nashville. That's where all my family lives. So I kind of grew up in that country scene. I love good country, and there's just not that much of it nowadays. And I'm like, well, what if I could make a really fucking funny record, but also make a classic country record? And what if it's with the guys, the guys who are doing it,
right? And
the best producer out there doing it, and become this character, and actually, because, and this is where I'll go deep for 1 second without trying to sound too pretentious, but I get pissed, I get angry, it's like, I was part of the thing too was, are we have to edit out that sneeze? We can keep it.
Well, it was a cough.
Okay.
I think it works.
Because I didn't say excuse me.
Oh, did you sneeze?
No, I thought you sneezed, and I felt bad for not saying excuse me. I was going to say it. Whatever.
Bless you mean? Oh, or taking credit for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Cough bless you, thumb dick. We're prepared for those kind of things.
Okay. I'm an asshole. All right. Bless you in case it was a sneeze and you covered it up by saying it was a cough. What was I talking about? So anyway, I wouldn't say it's about the cancellation. It's just I'm a very calm person for the most part, but I just have rage, and anyone, rage and pissed off, and I get upset, I don't
Sure.
know, getting dumb. Just like the life is shit, is maybe summing it up. And I was trying to channel into this character. It's like, wouldn't it be cool to have a release for this part of my life and make it funny and make it, and do this album? And I was in Nashville for Thanksgiving, and I met with the producer, and I was like, trying to explain to him why I should make. This is where it all comes, like the show actually. I was like, he's like, no, Sturgill and I watched, like, we're fans. Like, I love the show. I was like, no, here's why you got. He's like, no, I'm in. And I was like, no, I should.
You were like pitching.
I was
him.
trying to explain, like, listen, I had a show on. It's not on anymore. Bless you. But and he's like, no, I watch. That's why I took the meeting. You dope. Be like, I've won Grammys. Like, I don't need to. He's a nice guy. He would never say anything like that. But he was mutual admiration. Like, he'd already said yes, and I was like, well, let's listen to the demo. He's like, oh, these are great. He knew the right band, and I was. It was the next. What was the late? No, that was actually before Thanksgiving. So then Thanksgiving, I do Thanksgiving in Nashville.
Just this past Thanksgiving.
It was actually the one before
okay.
Because getting an album like this released into the wild is
I
found out
imagine,
later was a lot of work. We can discuss that in hour 3. But so I was like, I'll just get there a few days early. We recorded the record in 5 days, and I walked out. I mean, literally a check written to him. It was all my self-funded.
Oh wow!
My album. I own the masters. I own everything. And I walked out, and we were all just like, there's a lot of these just amazing session guys who are great guys I've actually played with since, become friends. And they love what they play, but it was I didn't realize what a joy and relief it was for them to like try not to be laughing while they're playing. Like my goal became to like try to like go too dirty and make the drummer, stop in the middle of the song or go too crazy or anything like that. So it was just so much fucking fun, and we did it. We recorded the full. I didn't have any more money than to record it. We got finished in 5 days, and like I said, I just wrote him a check for the whole thing, and then I have it. And then I'm just like,
was this your TV money?
It really was. I mean, yeah. So people, when you look at things as success or failure, when the show ended, I was like, man, that was kind of like Tosh makes fun of me on TV. That's his thing, like when your show gets canceled. He's made fun of me like 2 or 3 times. Anyway, it's fine. But, it's just like you feel the canceling the show didn't bother me. It's just you take ego out of it. It's fine. But it's just like, hey, what's going on, man? Like I saw, it's just the business. You got a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. And then it's just like, you're like calling about writing,
Yeah.
You're not on the streets. And I'm like, what I was trying to say was, the show he watched the show and became a fan of mine, number 1. And 2, I took the money from the show, not all of it, but a good chunk of it, and just gave it to him, and I made a record. And we were both leaving the studio just like, and he was, I can't remember what Dave said, it was just like, this is really good. Like it's the filthiest fucking thing. I mean, it's worthless. I mean, because that was I told him my goal. I was like, I want to make the best country album of the year and make it completely unplayable. And he's like, it's a dumb goal, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to, sounds fun to me. So he's like, and and the same thing, we were just like, man, this is I left the studio just like, man, it's a fucking bummer that no one's going to hear this. It's just an album on a hard drive. And I met a few people. I talked to some some record labels, and of course, they were kind of taken aback by musically how this is a real fucking album, and you recorded. I mean, the last song's called "Which One of You Queer is Gonna Suck My Dick," and they're just like, what are you doing? Like, you spent all this money on this like amazingly produced album, and we can't release. Like, we want to put this out.
Were you talking to them as Ben Hoffman or as Wheeler Walker?
And I was into when I took label meetings with some big record labels. They're just like we'd be happy to put it out, but we got to cut this song, and I'm just like, and something snapped. And I'm just like, I'm not changing a word of it.
But were you Ben, or
I was
you
me.
Wheeler?
Yeah, no,
okay.
I've never done like a lot of the things are. I mean, I'm getting a lot of cough. I just don't think of myself as a cough. I just don't commit that much.
I see.
I commit in like a lot of the like
You
interviews.
commit in regional markets.
I commit. I'm more of a regional Kaufman. No, but like in regional, like again, stuff people I don't know. Like I'll do interviews and I'll bring a buddy of mine who'll play my bodyguard, and another friend who'll play like my bodyguard's wife's like, retarded cousin, and we're out here for doing press from Nashville, and like we have to take him to Disneyland, and he's like chirping about Disneyland, and my manager's yelling at him like every time he talks. Like it's a demerit and he loses a ride. And he's like, I want to go to Disneyland. He's like, you just lost the teacup ride. And the interviewer's like, what the fuck is going on? And that's like, I love that stuff, but I'm not going to do that to like you.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? But like, and like after the interview's over, he's like, oh, okay. He thinks I'm going to break care. And my manager asks the interviewer like for his call. He's like, I also manage, radio DJs. And I start yelling at him like, your focus is on me, and this guy doesn't know what the fuck is going on. So that stuff is really fun, but I just have to. I'm not gonna do it in front of people I know. It's just stupid, So, but I feel more natural, kind of, as that promoting this stuff. Like I just came here to just do the podcast. It wasn't even like I should. Like at first, I was like, I'll come in Wheeler, do it. Then I was like, this is stupid. It's Allison. I'll just talk. But I forget where we left off.
Well, you were saying that you met with labels and they were saying maybe we cut out this song, and something snapped in you, and you're like, I'm not going to change it.
Yeah, that's where kind of everything changed. I was like, and again, I don't want to sound pretentious as I sound, but I was like, it's like it almost took over. I was like, I became that guy. I was like, no, I'm not changing it.
Mm-hmm.
When you turning down a lot, I was like, money. I like don't care much. And then I met a distributor in Nashville who put out a lot of my favorite. Just a simple explanation is this, there's record labels and there's distributors who like get into stores, and distributors can be very helpful. But nowadays distribution isn't that hard as I'm telling the two people who are recording a podcast from their living room. It's like, you don't really need it. But for music, I wanted out vinyl and CD. So you need someone to help with that stuff. So it's on my own record label, which I was like, I'm just going to do it my fucking self. Fuck this. So I paid for the manufacturing of the CDs. I paid for the cost of, it's like, do you want this mat for this, LP cover? This like, oh, this one looks nice. Like, that's 3 cents more per record. Never mind, I'll take the the crappy. It's like those kind of decisions with it. But to own it, and I own the masters. If I said I could call tomorrow and say take it off the shelves. Take it off iTunes, Amazon. I'm done. So it was important for me to own it and to not give it up unlike. And again, I have no problem. I still am friendly with Comedy Central. I've worked with them since. But like when you work with any network, they can take it from you at any time. No one can take this from me.
Right.
I own it. It's mine. And which is kind of I never did stand up, so my stand up friends always kind of had that, which is like. Whatever happens, if I get late, I can always go hit the road or something. I don't have that. I always wanted something that I owned. And I put it out myself, and I'll try to speed up the story, although you're getting slow, Ben.
Slow Ben.
And it kind of, like, it basically leaked in Nashville. And they're like, who the fuck is this? This sounds like a fucking, like, because... Again, I talk all over the place, which people who know me know, but corporate, country radio is not country music anymore. If you, I don't know, I didn't really know that much. I know my world, and I don't really know, but so it's really like it's kind of this electronic, like it's almost I describe it as Milli Vanilli with a twang. It's like kind of it's basically pop music with like that's like a little more safe for like. Country folk,
right?
But it's still my world, that's where I come from. Although I've apparently lost my accent, which just pissed some people off. That's all. Like the character, like when I get into character, it's not much of a character. I mean, I'm basically just like when I get drunk, my accent comes back, so I just pretend I'm drunk. It's not. It's not like I go do some Meisner or whatever. Was that the guy? Whatever it is. Method acting. Yeah, I'm not just like I just add a twang to it and start. It's like not that hard. It's not that hard because it's not that good. So, and I didn't think anyone would buy the accent either. I'm really just doing it. I'm just impersonating my mom, who has a really thick accent. Anyway, so it started leaking around, and then, like this is getting me to an LA Weekly article that pissed me off.
I just read that.
So, I didn't have money for, once you get all those costs out of the way, like there's nothing left. Like, it's going to have to be. Keep in mind, there still are. I mean, the record business is in bad trouble, but there still are records being sold, and radio is still the thing that drives it. And I made an album that literally cannot be played on radio. Right. So
but I'm just gonna interrupt you for a second because I just have to know what comes after "Fuck You, Bitch."
What song?
Mm-hmm. What are the other songs?
Oh, "Drop 'Em Out" is after "Fuck You, Bitch."
"Drop 'Em Out" is that your balls?
"Drop 'Em Out," no. "Drop 'Em Out," let me see them titties.
Oh,
it's actually a video for that, a cartoon video that a buddy made me. Again, calling in favors. Like a friend of mine's an animator who can animate boobs real pretty, like, and did it for kind of nothing. And
then
it's like has this like, one quick thing.
No, go.
On the podcast that I'm now hosting the podcast. I had this idea. This like. I used to love the Oak Ridge Boys. When I was a kid, the Oak Ridge Boys were everywhere. If you guys know, it was like the 4-part harmony group. This one guy it was like kind of the Village. I don't want to call it, but they all had different looks,
Sure.
And they had these 4-part harmonies that were so fucking great. And I'm like, I want to do this song about tits, but I want like these really gorgeous 4-part harmonies, like the Oak Ridge Boys. And I basically told the producer, I'm like, this is what I want. It's what I'm hearing in my head, but I don't even know if we can do, like, I don't think you can, as me always underestimating people, like, I don't think you can do, like, it's too hard, like, to get the harmonies right and do it all right. Like, it's very difficult to perfect. And I think there might even be more people singing on it than 4. And he's like, this is where I get my ass. He's like, I just produced the Oak Ridge Boys. I'm like, oh, okay. So he had to teach me how to, it's like, pretending like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. Like, like, let me explain to you. Like, it's not going to work. And then he explained to me how the Oak Ridge Boys recorded. That's why I just had a blast, because I really did let myself go and just like everyone in this room, I felt very confident about the material, but also that everyone in this room knows more than me about making these kind of albums. Just try this song slower. Whereas the old me may have been like, I thought of, in my head it was fast. I want to play it fast. It's my fucking album. It's like.
So you were willing to listen to people that you respected.
Exactly. And I just, but also because I always find that when you're working, like the stuff you do like on a set or whatever it is, it's the directors who are yelling and screaming and act like they know anything who know nothing. Yeah. The real calm guys who just like do this, do that. They're the guys who kind of have it all figured out. And I went into the studio because it was such a huge chunk of my bank account. I went in so overly prepared and felt really good about the material that I'm like, the material's strong enough to do, to break through whatever they do. And then, of course, I listened to them, and then all right, I'll try it slower. My thing was I was going to be open to it, so I'll try it slower as an example of this one song. And then once we try it slower, then I'll explain to him that I want it. Let's try it faster because that's how I wanted to do it. We played it slower. All the lyrics now fit. Mm-hmm. I wasn't cramming them all in. It sounded way fucking better.
Some of the lyrics being...
Well, it was called Can't Fuck You Off My Mind.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of... I'm trying to think. The chorus, it's very hard to remember. I'm trying to learn them now as we're getting ready to go on tour. Buy tickets for the tour. They're going fast.
Where can they buy them?
WheelerWalkerJr.com.
Okay.
And the Troubadour, July 12th. You got to come to
that.
Oh,
I would love to.
We'll talk about that stuff later. But I always say, I do that a lot on podcasts too. I'm always like, we'll discuss that later. Anytime I like to move this story along, I say we'll talk about that later and stuff I know we'll never talk about later.
I thought we actually would talk about it later.
We can talk about it.
We don't have to.
We can, but I'm going to make sure you get tickets. While Rita's blowing me, I miss you desperately. I'm fucking Mary Lou, and all I do is think about you. And it's like all these specific, all the girls have to rhyme with the things I'm doing to them sexually. So it's hard to cram it all in there. So I play it. I was like, it was one of the first songs we recorded, probably the second or third. I'm just like, I gotta again. Me being open-minded, But in the back of my head, I've still got that little bit of like, after this, let me explain how. And I finished it, like, fuck, that's way better. I never brought up to him that I wanted to do it fast. Like, that's the take. And we recorded it all live, too. So I was like, that was fucking great. A long way of saying just like, even though I spent my money and I didn't feel any kind of like, I thought, especially knowing me and you knowing my neuroses, that I'd go in there freaking out. We got to do this. And there was maybe a tiny bit. But for the most part, I was just very relaxed and like, we had fun and we record like some days. One day we did 4. There's 11 songs on the record. We did 4 in one day, and I could have done more. They're like, let's just get a good night's sleep and do it. It's like, and we'll do a couple more. And it's like, yeah, all right, cool. When
you had your TV show, were you able to be calm?
Yeah, I found that when I'm working and doing what I want, my anxiety is lower. That's why I get so pissed with all the fucking people I work with. It's like, you're a pain in the ass, you're difficult, all that shit.
Is that what people say to you?
A lot of the people I work with, I don't want to get specific, but I'm only like that when I'm not doing what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
When I'm doing what I'm doing, you never hear from me because I'm happy and I'm working. I didn't come out here to take meetings. I didn't come out here to go to cool, meet production companies and to take, go to out to and nothing against my people. I work, dinner with agents or I'm not interested in that stuff, which is part of what's taken me 10 times longer than other people and my lack of talent. The two combined don't really help things. But I just don't socialize. I don't go. I don't meet. I'm not in the world, so it takes me 10 times as long. I just want to do the work, and this was the perfect example. Just like went in there, had fun, knocked it out. It's on a hard drive, and then like I said, all that other stuff, and it's just like I'll fucking put it out myself.
So after Drop 'Em Out, then what happens?
Oh, you want to hear the song?
I do.
Eating Pussy, Kicking Ass, which we turned into a rocker. Again, I'm all over, but I just have to tell you this. So that's talk. The only way that album was going to work was word of mouth, which I assumed wasn't going to happen anyway. And Spotify, I don't understand these fucking charts. Someone sent me this at the. I'm calling them the label now, just to not confuse people. They're like, Spotify has this viral chart, and I'm like, I don't even understand charts in the first place. What's the viral? They have the Spotify viral top 50. It's like the top 50. I think they try to explain this like the songs that the most people are passing. I guess on Spotify you can share. I don't use Spotify. You can share stuff with friends and post.
I was listening to your album on it earlier, actually, but I don't use it a lot.
Yeah, but I the point being, you can pay. I don't think like literally pay, but you can with the right record company behind you. You can just get billions of views on Spotify. It's not that hard with a giant marketing.
You can
campaign.
game the system.
Yeah, but you can also get on these. They have these big, which are the new radio stations, which I just now learned are these big Spotify's playlists. There's playlists on there that have 10 million subscribers. You get on the playlist, you've got 10 million listeners right there. I can't get on the playlist because I'm too dirty. I can't be on like, songs for grandma to cook apple pie with, country songs for grandmas, while they're, cooking their meat or, whatever. It's like they'll fucking flip out. So they're like, but on the viral charts, the ones that people are actually listening and passing around, they go, you're number 3 in the world.
Wow.
The Eating Pussy Kicking Ass song, which I didn't make a video. It's like the album's not available worldwide. It's only available. It's available on Spotify through the deal I made, which I didn't even know. It was number 1 in England, number 1 in Australia, number 1 in New Zealand. I mean, you literally, if you went to a record store, you can't buy it. There's no articles about me there. They don't know who I am. It was literally people just passing it around like the old days. Again, it's leading up to. So far, I'm still in debt. I haven't made a fucking penny off it. They're telling me I will, but and Spotify pays shit. But then, like I said, it leaked and started getting around, and I started noticing a little more kind of buzz, and when people coming around, and there's something here. I think, obviously, it scared a lot of Nashville people off because that's my. And I have no problem saying this because that's where I'm from, but this is not what you're supposed to sing about in country music. This is not church music, and anyway, we just did whatever we could for marketing. I called up. This is true. I found a number for Pornhub, and I go, let's just, an even deal. Why don't I premiere a little bit of advertising? Premiere the Drop 'Em Out video, which came out before the album, on Pornhub, and a couple ads, and I'll bet I know a lot of Hollywood people. I'm talking out of my ass. Like I could introduce you, and you could get some because you would know more than. But like it's just all boner pills and stuff. Like why don't you? There's millions and millions of people in there. Why don't you advertise? Why isn't every movie studio there?
Right.
We know the answer because it's owned by corporations and they don't want to get involved in porn. And they're just like, yeah. I was just trying to be clever and think of anything I could do for free marketing. And the album came out, and then the label called, and they're like, it debuted at number 9 on the Billboard country charts.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's impossible because it was the Grammy week. And number 10 on the Billboard country charts was a band who played on the Grammys. I'm like, they had 20 million viewers. How is this possible? It just doesn't make sense. How is it possible? Keep in mind, it's not with the record business as it is. It's not that many records. But still, how am I? And it was actually, number 1 on the comedy charts, which I learned wasn't that. Like number 2 sold like 12 copies. But no offense to my comedy friends. But and it is a comedy record, don't get me wrong. But it is a real country record. And it was on the Billboard 200 and everything, and I was just flabbergasted, kind of. And a lot of people, writing articles about this guy Wheeler Walker Jr., and I wrote up a fake backstory and put a bio together and sent it out to people, and they started printing it as real. And some people went crazy one way. And so, like, if you go on iTunes and look at the reviews, it's fucking 5 stars. It's exactly what I wanted, which was 5 stars or 1. There's no 3-star reviews. There's like 2. It's, this is the best album ever made, or this is the worst thing that's ever happened. iTunes should take it down. It's really, there's nothing in between.
Right.
So people, and then I got kind of shocked by, the people who hate it, like the vitriol, just insane. It was like, and then, because I'm laughing the whole time. This is funny to me. When they told me it was 9 in the country charts, I called Dave as soon as I got off the phone. We couldn't stop laughing. We were cracking up. I mean, it's, whatever, Carrie Underwood was 14, and like, it was a joke. And it was hilarious. And then the Houston press, like, there's this guy, Wheeler Walker Jr., and he's a misogynist, and all this shit, and he's, like, talking, fuck you, bitch, and he calls women. And by the way, which no one believes me, I spent a lot of time in the lyrics, like there's no, like, quit your bitching and get back in the kitchen. Like, I think, in a weird way, it is kind of me, that's what I'm saying, it to the people out there who go on iTunes and Amazon or my website and buy it, not at Walmart, who banned it. I think it's
before you recorded
the fastest ban in Walmart history. Yeah, none of the chains will take it. Although I'm hearing some are kind of coming around. Like, we wouldn't mind having a couple of copies just to see what happens. Well, Walmart's a definite no. And Houston Press was also one was just like, what I was going to say was like, I don't want any of this, like, get in your place. It's not a parody. It's not like getting woman to take your place, go America. It's like real song, A girl dumps you, you're sitting there. The second a girl leaves you, under your breath, like, fuck you, bitch. She's not a bitch. That's the emotion you feel at the time. It's like, what if I just it's funny to me, like to say that, but people are relating to it because it's not it's not like, and there's a lot of hip hop like this, which I obviously listen to, but like, there's a lot of women are nothing but bitches, and there's nothing like that. I spent so much time.
No, it's about Wheeler Walker's emotion.
Exactly, and it's really accord with a lot of people in the good and bad ways, but it's so offensive to so many people, and it just boggles. I obviously understand why, but it's funny how much time I spent. Like, oh, this is too offensive. Like, how much time I spent cleaning it up to make it not offensive, and then it was called the most offensive country album of all time. Like, I was like, fuck, thank God I didn't release the original. But it was nothing like that. It was just like, it's not about a girl who's a bitch. It's about a guy who was an asshole. Like, I have a lot of women who write, like, I love this song. My boyfriend's an asshole. and he was treating me, but it works on both sides. Like that's why I just don't understand, because I love music so much. Like when I listen to John Lennon singing "Jealous Guy," I'm not thinking about Yoko. I'm thinking about my own life. So I don't understand why people get so. I mean, I understand because most of the world is, not that smart. But the people who are connecting to it are. That's why I didn't. To the bigger question of the day, which is why I didn't mind coming on here as myself and doing it occasionally, is because it's not. I'm not hiding anything. Like the woman who wrote this really, kind of shitty article about me in the Houston Press, which that week I got a note from the label saying, "What did you do in Houston? Because we sold more albums in Houston than any city this week."
Oh, wow.
So again,
It helped you.
yes, all the negative stuff. I get pissed online. I go crazy, and then it helps album sales. But it is. Like, it's not. I'm not dumb. Like, I'm not
Wait,
saying like
you
I'm
get pissed online. Is Wheeler Walker responding?
Yeah, he goes crazy. Then Houston Press Twitter was like going after me, like, you piece of shit. Like I thought you were an actual paper. Like, they're like calling, like we're going back and forth. It was insanity. And it reminded me in a second to get to the LA Weekly one. And then, of course, that only helps. And you got to burn them to buy them. Although now you got to download them to delete them as a new one. It just gets attention for it. So all this stuff, again, and listen, there's probably been a few people who are just like, I've been duped, and like he's not a real guy. But you're not. I think that's what I'm trying to say here. Like, am I sounding too pretentious?
No, you don't sound pretentious.
I sound like a fucking dick.
No, you don't sound pretentious.
My point being is, the girl who wrote that shitty thing about me on the internet in was supposedly a news source. If you Google, at the time, especially if you Googled Wheeler Walker Jr., on page 2 of Google was Ben Hoffman's trademark application for the name Wheeler Walker Jr. I guess they print that stuff online. Mm-hmm. So she didn't she didn't get to page 2 of Google. So I don't get.
So she felt duped.
Well, no, I don't think she felt duped. She's just a shitty report. I mean, that's a shitty article talking about this guy Wheeler. Like she didn't. She was too lazy to get to page 2 of Google. That's no research. I hear it. I hear the word bitch. It's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Fuck you. And then I felt that actually, honestly, I feel bad. I don't want me to offend people. And then I find her online, tweet her, like, let's just talk it over. And then she's like, yeah, let's do that. I go, then Wheeler kicks back in. I go, fuck her. I'm not going to fucking defend myself. Do your fucking research. Because, like, if think you're a writer, do your fucking research. Get to page 2 of Google. My fucking video was, the first thing when you Google eating pussy is Comedy Central. With the fucking Comedy Central CC logo. You fucking idiot. You're not a writer or a reporter. You're just a piece of shit. So then Wheeler kicked back in. I said, I take it back. Fuck you. I'm not doing the interview. And then she writes, and then there's I see a headline, Wheeler, because then in the album charts, it's, Nashville stunned by, so the people, I'll hold this on. But then it's like, oh, this could get us press. This will get us, it's all about getting clicks.
Right.
So then the new title, the new articles, Wheeler Walker Jr. pusses out of interview. And then I went crazy again, just because, if I keep going, I'll sell 1 million albums in Houston if I just keep this up. Like, basically, someone actually asked me this on a radio interview the other day. They were asking me why I didn't do the interview. I mean, the real reason was she has her agenda. Seeing that she's such a poor writer and such a poor journalist for not doing her research, I'm not going to win. She's going to write what she's going to write anyway. Just let her write it. But also, I'm dying to get press for the record because it's my money, it's my album. I want to get out. But when you really want an interview, then I don't want to give it to you. Like this interview, I called you just because I was like, I hadn't talked to her a while and I had fun in the last interview. Let's do it again. But all that stuff kind of, I think builds it up more. And I get pissed off. And to the bigger point that I was trying to make was like, no one's called, like, I thought you were a real country singer, and I fell in love with these songs, and you duped me. My point is that you're not it is real. Like, these are actual. It's not a send up. It's not a send up. It's not a parody. I'm from Kentucky. I grew up with I would go to my aunt's house and Crystal Gale would be sitting there, like people, and Tanya Tucker, whoever it was. These people were around my life, and I have such a love for country music, and the shit I hear on the radio, which I didn't know about that much, is so bad. I'm like, I'll make a real country record. And obviously, my point of view on life is comedic, so it comes out comedic. But if you're relating to these songs, you're not being trolled. You're not being duped. It is... It's
a part of you.
It's a part of me. Yes. Again, that sounds pretentious as well. But
no, it doesn't.
But it does to me, but not maybe not to some. But and no one's really said that to me. There's been a lot of people who are just... So then the cool thing for people to do is back to the LA Weekly one that was yesterday. This guy, I mean...
The LA Weekly one, it seemed like he's like, fuck this hipster bullshit. Like, I know it's an unpopular opinion. I read it.
Did you see his picture?
No.
Well, look at his picture, because that guy should not be saying fuck this hipster bull. He's got a mustache, tattoos. I mean, first of all, so again, the bigger point of what's happening to journalism today, and I understand a lot of it is just because you can get it, but journalism is in such a horrible place right now. Like a friend of mine was telling me, because he'd been made fun of by the LA Weekly. And there was who was the food critic there that was really popular? Was that Jonathan Gold?
Yeah.
A couple of their big writers, moved on to bigger places. And they're just left. When I moved to LA, middle of the week, you would grab an LA Weekly because you need to know what movies were playing. This is 15 years ago. You need to know, I need a guitar. I need to find a guitar in the back. What comedy shows are around. You needed the paper. We don't live in that world. The paper, LA Weekly's dead. I honestly didn't know it was still around.
Yeah, I used to work for the OC Weekly, which was LA Weekly's sister
Same company,
paper.
Yeah.
I do think there's a bit of the ethos of alternative news weeklies then and probably still now is let's write a takedown of popular things.
Well, that's fine, but I also felt like these weeklies, unfortunately, just... the good writers left because
the industry changed.
Because you would pick it up to find out what time the movie was playing, but then until you got it in your hands, you're not reading the internet. You got the paper, you're sitting around, so you read the articles, and you would read a lot of cool stuff. Nowadays, it's just literally what's the craziest headline I can read. And this guy, who's obviously just some hipster piece of shit, he has a column called Unpopular Opinion. So why the fuck would you have a column called here's the two articles. So I just see this thing. Wheeler Walker Jr. is a piece of shit, whatever he said. And he's like, as if he's Sherlock Holmes. He posted a picture of the real Ben. And again, like I'm saying, like, this is not, I went on what is WTF? At least in the top 5, 10 most popular podcasts in the world. I went on as Ben and explained the album. I've done numerous interviews. The information's out there. It's not investigative journalism to find out that he's like, I'm not calling him by his stage name. I'm calling him Ben. That's his real fucking name. He says I come from a well-heeled Kentucky family, which I had to look up. It meant wealthy, which is not. And then of course, that actually did piss me off. I'm like, I haven't made my money. Like, I'm broke from this record. Shut the fuck up. So that's a lie. He said this giant PR machine behind it. He's like, anybody with a few dirty words and a big PR machine behind it can sell records. And as you know, I just sent you a message.
You are your own PR machine.
But I just emailed you and said, you want to talk? And because I was like, I'm leaving for tour. I should probably do a couple interviews, and I'm getting lazy. And like I said, that was one of the ones I had fun with. So I'll do it before. So it is a lie. It's what he's saying is a fucking lie. That being said, I got a kick out of Unpopular Opinion because then it was like, it's still a small record. It's not like Adele's in no danger. So then it's like, so the popular opinion is that he's really good. So that's cool. But then, of course, as character, I get pissed and I start screaming, you're a piece of shit. He posted my picture. I'll fucking post yours, you fucking hipster piece of shit. And I went after him and just, but it really is sad. Like, to try to get clicks, he's trying, I looked up to his last 2 unpopular opinion columns. One was that Jack White had ruined rock and roll. So it's just that you don't write that. Yeah, there is.
You say incendiary things.
That's just going to get. Why is he saying this? I didn't read it because anyone who titles something like that. And then of course the next one I see insane clown posse in the headline. I go, oh boy, here we go. He's like, Insane Clown Posse is the greatest band, whatever it is. So it's like, so if all you're going to do is just take the opposite of everyone's opinion, like, that's not journalism. That's not writing. That's just a guy who's hoping to get clicks. It's just you're a piece of shit. You know, you're worthless. You're fucking shit on my shoe. Anyway, the editor of LA Weekly said he wanted to talk. So I'm going to interview with him tomorrow in character. And I just said, as long as you know that I may go crazy on it. I'm happy to do it. You know, if you want to talk to me again, I'm going to get. I didn't ask for the first article nor the second. I'm going to get 2 articles out of it.
When you, as Wheeler, are going insane, are you feeling the real emotions, or is there distance?
Yeah, I am, because that's what I'm trying to say. Is why, again, it is part, like, when I read about the giant PR machine, 2 seconds after I'm like texting you, like, if we can do the interview, and also I'm running late, like, I'm so sorry, can we still do it? It drives me batty.
Yeah.
But I now have an outlet to get it out there, and I can, instead of tweeting as Ben Hoffman, where you can get in trouble. Excuse me, that was a burp.
Bless you.
Not, I wouldn't say get in trouble, but like, it's just not whatever reason, because now they know it's me, it shouldn't make a difference. But for whatever reason, when I put on the cowboy hat and the shades, it's a character, and I go crazy. But I really am fucking pissed at the dude, and I get more pissed when I found a friend of mine who he made fun of, who I won't mention, but this guy's just out to get clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking, that's you know, and of course I'm like, listen, he has a sad life. His uncle did whatever to him. It's not my fault. Like, you know, then I was like, fuck it. You know, then I just go again. So, I mean, I literally got a tweet that day, a meme I'd never seen before, which is a cat's paws on a keyboard. Have you seen that one? Like, stop tweeting. Like, fans of mine were like,
right.
Shut up. It's enough.
Fans of Wheeler or fans of you?
Of Wheeler.
Okay.
Because I did this all as Wheeler. They were like, even my fans were like, yeah, it was a shitty article, but like, can you take criticism or not?
Right.
And to answer your question, Wheeler can't take criticism well, and turns out Ben can't really either. So it's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's just I have an outlet now to get it out.
This is going to be a real pretentious question. And by the way, I have not forgotten that I still want to hear the rest of the titles and talk about them.
Okay.
But
I like teasing the audience with these titles.
I know.
How's this podcast going? This is fine, right?
It's all right.
Oh, I did that last time too.
No. I'm kidding.
An applause. Okay.
I'm kidding. No, it's good. It is good. What was my question? My question was,
you said it was going to sound
a pretentious question. Yeah. Yes. I can barely get it out. Is
Why?
Wheeler your id?
I've been in therapy for a decent amount of time, but I don't really know. I don't think it's Freudian. I don't know.
You don't know. Are we going to say you don't know what your id is? You don't know if he's your id.
I don't know I try not to get too, wrapped up in that kind of shit. But I just like the simple version, which is like, it's an outlet for me. You saw the show. I did this one scene where I was a football coach and I just screamed my fucking lungs out. I don't know if you remember that sketch, but people really like, because I was a high school football. It was supposed to be like Friday night. The original point of the sketch was it was Friday Night Lights, but it's gonna be little kids, and I'm cursing nonstop. And these little kids, I'm like, you fucking black asshole. You're black. You're supposed to be good at football, and you're fucking on my fucking team. It was like that. And they, of course, the networks finally made it teenagers, and of course I was like, listen, you fat black piece of shit. And the kid who's taking the brunt of it, we can't even get him to stop laughing for the take because he's loving it so much. Anyway, talking like that was probably the longest day of my show ever. And it ended with that. I lost my voice screaming so much. And I went home and I'm an insomniac and I slept like a fucking baby. And I actually talked to my therapist about it. And he's like, that's the fucking point of doing what, I mean, you don't, because
that's the point of doing what?
Of what I do, because I'm not
having
a smart person. I mean,
yeah.
I am smart in some ways, but mostly I'm an idiot. So like, wow, that really felt good. I don't put two and two together. He's like, it'd been building up and you let it out, because I'm so shy and kind of, I don't scream at people in real life.
Right.
I found a way to do it. I don't say fuck you bitch in real life, but I found a way I can say it. So that's kind of if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Are you?
What would your answer to that question be then?
Of whether Wheeler is your id?
Yes.
in a way, yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of
like in a way. I mean, it could suggest if you're going to get real Freudian that like Wheeler also contains, excuse me, cough bless you, thumb dick. That Wheeler also contains like libidinous urges and just all the urges that you would suppress normally. It sounds more like Wheeler's an outlet for anything that's like potentially quote unquote antisocial.
There is that stuff too, because one of the things like I heard about Snapchat. So it's like because obviously I do all the marketing myself. Unlike the LA Weekly, I don't have a high-powered marketing machine behind me. You fucking piece of shit. So like I got to join Snapchat. I didn't know how it worked, but I heard that it's just people sending you tits. So I'm like, I'm in. I'd like to see naked tits. So of course I didn't know you weren't supposed to add everyone. So everyone who adds me on Snapchat, and from now on I'll just keep doing. I'll just add you back. And the song "Drop 'Em Out," which we're talking about. So they'll be like, "Hey, just want to say I'm a big fan." I'll just write back, "Drop 'em out," and then they will, and I'll look at them. But you know what I'm saying. So it's probably closer. Yes, because I'm not saying like show like I was more shocked. Like I've stopped doing it a little bit now, but it was more shock. Like I'm having someone say, "Show me your." By the way, 90% of the pics I get are dicks and balls. Oh, actually, let me rephrase it. 98%. And it's not a gay thing. It's just like dudes are like great because these kids nowadays, that's how they work. Mm-hmm. Great fucking album. Here's my dick. Is basically what they're saying. And I found this out later. It's like their way of saying we love the record. So I've seen, besides porn, I've probably seen maybe 2 or 3 dicks in my life. I probably saw 200 a day. That's all I do is see dicks. And then occasional tits. But, Now
that you've seen all those dicks, do you have any sort of thoughts about dicks in general?
I just appreciate them more now, I guess, because it's thought of as a compliment. Because, you know what, like on Snapchat, you put off, like you said, again, I don't fucking understand, but I think you do like a picture that goes up. You can send it to one person, but you can also do one that everyone sees.
Right.
So I'll just put out, going on tour. If you get this message, send me a picture of your tits or your pussy or your dick. And then, of course, I get them. Mostly the dicks. But, like, but I do get some. So the little business stuff, it's like, it is kind of in there, too, because it's like, you know me well. You know me well enough to know, like, I don't walk around. Like, hey, at my most drunk, 80 beers, I would never go, hey, let me see them titties. Like I would just, I don't think I would.
Right.
I would ever.
Do you have social anxiety?
Oh, yeah, really bad. But yeah, but you were saying, like, I don't. Well, that was one of my things, too, is I never got, and you were asking about it before, like, I had no anxiety during the show. I had no anxiety really during the record. I'm leaving for tour I leave Friday to rehearse in Nashville for a couple of days, and we head out on tour. Anxiety about, like, making sure everything's in place and all that stuff, but, like, the anxiety of what I call my...
Like your neuroses.
I think the example... I feel like even if I did give this example, it was 3 years ago, so I can say it again. But this is another discovery I made with my therapist, which is I hate airports. I hate flying. I mean, I'm fine with it now, but there was definitely a time it was really bad. And I took the Thanksgiving after 9/11, which obviously was, whatever it was, 8 weeks later or something. Around that time, around 2 months later. I kept thinking if I have a fear of being around it, this is the worst. Mm-hmm. And you get there and there's armed guards and there's dogs and there's soup taking your shoes. It was this whole new world. And my anxiety was lower. And I didn't understand. And I take Klonopin or Xanax or whatever when I fly. About 2 bottles or whatever. But I asked my therapist later. I don't see my therapist. I'm making it sound like I see my therapist that much. I go, I was baffled because that's why I have a therapist to figure out what's going on because I don't understand. I go, so I'm scared of flying and I'm scared of airports and they're on red alert and everyone's freaking out. Why was my anxiety lower? And he's like, because everyone around you were calmed by the fact that everyone around you finally had the anxiety you had.
That's so interesting.
So, no, because what I freak out usually was everyone here on this plane looks fucking calm. They don't know. But when everyone else has got their eyes bugging out of their head, I just fall like, well,
they're on the job too.
Yeah, we're in this together. And it calms me to know that everyone else is as fucked up as me, at least for that brief period in time. So it's kind of like that too. Like when same thing. I kind of equate, not as extreme, but like with the show or the album, it's like those are high pressure situations, and everyone, we got to get this record done in 5 days, or your money's gone, or we got to get this show shot by. If we don't shoot these scenes by 10, we're over budget, and you owe Viacom money. Like those situations. Although I have anxiety about, I have huge anxiety about, did I keep the toaster on? Mm-hmm. When it comes to the big stressful stuff, I seem to calm down, which is obviously helpful in showbiz, but can be a kind of a pain in real life.
Right.
So I think that's where it's, and when I put on a fucking cowboy hat, I mean, it's not even much of a costume. It's like a step above Groucho Marx and putting on shades and a cowboy hat. I just feel just like, I'm talking like we did in high. I mean, all the songs are just like about stuff we would, me and my friends would talk about. It's more just, because I still got family back there and a lot of family in Tennessee and Kentucky, and I'm there all the time, and just kind of singing how I would if I were singing there. And again, to me, it's a tribute to country music. A lot of people would disagree, but anyway, I kind of got off topic, but I felt like we made some breakthroughs, even though I did get off topic.
I think we did. Have you met girls as Wheeler? Have you performed as Wheeler yet?
I did. Well, that's the thing. Is the tour's going to be interesting for me because I've toured with my brother just as a companion. I've never actually gone out on tour. I've done a few shows. I mean, that's again where it's kind of taken off in a weird way. The Exit In, which is a kind of the troubadour, I guess, of Nashville, I don't know if either of you been there. It's got all, everyone's name on the wall, like Johnny Cash to even Chuck Berry, but even Red Hot Chili. Everyone's been through that at one point. It's a big club, and they're like, let's do a record release party there. And I'm like, I'm not doing the fucking record release party there. It's a huge fucking club. At that point, I'd literally sold 0 record. We don't know what's going to happen. They're like, I think it'll be fine. The album's not out. I did it the Wednesday before it came out. It's like, I think it's getting past, and we sold it out.
That's awesome.
I was like, what again, there's a crowd. I mean, they're singing along to the songs aren't even out. And my family's there, and there's a crowd of people singing along to Fuck You Bitch, which is a very, very odd experience. But yeah, after the show, I can't pick up, it's like I'm not that, I don't know what you say, method, cough, whatever it is. I'm not going to go around
and pretend to be him.
Yes, I'm not going to meet women I did accidentally on Snapchat, show me your tits, and they did, but I've stopped, I act like he would, it's like, sometimes I'd be like, yeah, that's enough. I think I'm good on tits for tonight. On to the pussy. No. So, yeah, no, that I can't. It's like, when it's over, it's like that's where I a little separated. Is when it's done, it's done. Which is why it wasn't originally. I was like, I should do this, and that's just fuck it. I'll just come on.
So let's talk relationships for a moment. When we last talked, your concern was, I think, tell me if this is right, that you are not really the type who could ever be in a relationship, even though you want to one day, because you just always want to be able to have alone time.
Yeah, I don't know.
And marriage or a serious relationship, which I don't know.
That. I don't know if. Well, no, I'm not in right now. Nothing's changed in those 3 years. You hit the nail on the head. But it makes me think I kind of made an album about that without realizing. It's an album about a guy. It's
a guy who needs space.
You want another song title?
Yes, please.
Better Off Beaten Off. It's about a guy who's just like a guy, Wheeler Walker Jr., another guy, Ben Hoffman, who's, friends are going out and shower, put on my shirt. It's a little more graphic in the song, of course. Get my shoes, grab my jacket. I don't want to go out. I'm going to go out. I'm going to talk to girls that I don't want to talk to. I'm going to get rejected. Or even if I don't get rejected, I don't really want to take my bed's clean. I don't want to bring some girl home. You know, like, just it's not worth it.
Right.
I'm just
you
gonna
also, for listeners who are like, what, the bed clean thing, you also battle OCD and fairly intense germophobia and went to behavior modification classes years ago.
Did you re-listen to it?
I did, yeah, because I didn't want to repeat everything.
I was hoping you did because I was just worried you had that good of a memory.
No, I wish I was a Mary Lou Henner.
My new thing is that I'm worried I'm losing my memory. So that would have freaked me out if you didn't have all
if I could recall it that well. No. But you went to
you're right about all this.
Behavior modification classes to help you with your OCD, and you had to do stuff like rub $1 on your face, and to graduate they wanted you to touch toilet and then touch your face.
No, they wanted me to touch. The graduation was sticking my hand in the toilet.
That I don't
a clean toilet. And I mean, but
still, I wouldn't want to do that.
No,
Wait, in the water or just in the zone of the toilet?
No, in the water.
Yeah, see, I'm like,
well,
I love germs and I wouldn't do that.
That's his point is like, well, two things. One is his point. The point of the class is you're on the subway. I was living in Chicago at the time, and you're grabbing the pole that used to gross me out. In your head, you're supposed to be like, I stuck my hand in a fucking toilet and lived. This is nothing. Like, at least it's not that.
Huh.
But at the time, I go fuck yourself. Like, I'll do the other stuff, but I'm not sticking my fucking hand in the toilet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need a graduation. I don't want a diploma from you. I just want to get better. Like, I don't want the fucking diploma. And he's like, well, he's like, you know, and he's kind of laughing. You know, it wasn't like you don't do that. You have to leave. He's just trying to help me. And he's like, you know, well, my dog drinks out of it all the time, and he's fine. I was like, how old's your dog? Like, what's best case scenario of how many years your dog lives? He's like, you know, 7. I was like, yeah, I'd like to live to be older than 7. You fucking, you know. So, again, we're laughing about a very serious issue with the guy, and he said, you know, you don't, because he's worried, he that's what he studies, and he knows he could
flood you.
I could leave and never come back, and he wants to help me. So
he's
not like, he was very cool. He wasn't like, you stick your hand in the toilet, you don't do that. He's just like, all right, you know, you don't have to do that. But the other stuff was, yeah. I do remember rubbing a dollar bill on the floor and then rubbing it on my face, and I couldn't wash my face for 6 hours.
Was that uncomfortable?
As hell at the time, but now, you know.
So now you're
and I had
over
to eat
those things.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's all, part of it's always still with you. I mean, I still have a lot of it, and when anxiety comes back, all those things come back. I was just going to say another one, too, was I had to eat a Twinkie. I remember that. Because at the time, I thought anything with preservatives.
Really?
I don't look fat to you, do I?
No.
I look fine.
You look fine. You look good.
That's what I wasn't going to continue until I heard that. But I'm definitely not fat.
No.
But I weighed, I'm not joking, probably 30 or if not 40 pounds less than this. Right
because
now.
you were afraid of preservatives?
I was like, I'm not going to eat anything with preservatives. And part of OCD is just irrational. It's like, I couldn't tell you why. You know, the meat, I was like, no meat. I don't know if they're cooking it enough. No sugar, you know, by the end there was nothing to eat, you know. I wasn't starving myself, but I was eating a lot, actually. It was just all this weird kind of food.
Was this because you were afraid of becoming sick, or because are you afraid of death and want to be healthy? Like, what's the specific fear?
Well, the whole point of OCD, I don't want to speak for the medical community, but there's a lot of it is that there's no rationality to it.
It's just control. I
think control is a good word. Like, was that chicken cooked enough? I don't know. An hour later at the movies, am I poisoned right now? I don't know what's going on. You think I'll be okay? And you wake up.
Do you have
But like, I can picture I was just gonna say I can picture myself in those extreme situations, and luckily that is not there.
But anyway. When I hear stuff like that, and I have things,
and everyone's
like
got
that.
Yeah.
But when I hear stuff like that, I always think, is this a response to some kind of trauma, or to have a response to, at one point when you were young, feeling unsafe, some kind of like chaos or unpredictability?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure. I mean, that's my problem is I've talked to my parents about, like,
and your parents are together. Your dad's a doctor. Your mom's.
Yeah. They're a well-heeled family. They, I don't know. Is a doctor, I mean, that it's just a regular internist with 3 kids. It doesn't seem
always. My dad is a doctor as well. People always assume that doctors are rolling in it. The truth is that there was a time when doctors made a lot of money, but with the way insurance companies are, doctors don't make shit anymore.
But it's not that they don't even make shit, but it's just like he's like, there are those people who are like the top neurosurgeons in the world or invented like some kind of new, drug, whatever it is. But it's just a regular working doctor.
People
he did
assume
fine,
that's.
But we have a wife and 3 kids. It's just we weren't hurting for money, but it was.
Yeah, you're well healed.
I'm well. But when I see well healed, it means well. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, my bigger point is even if it's true, what the fuck did you do? You go interview my. Like, where the fuck is he getting this shit?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what my parents have in the bank account. So
you talked to your parents about where this came from?
What happened was, and I mean, this is the type of humor I had. Like, I basically said to my parents, like, my life would be so much easier if you had just molested me. Because then we'd have answers, Well, I don't know what the fuck happened. And some of it's just unexplainable. Some of it's just probably genes. Some of it is, my mom was had some OCD qualities around the house, so that she didn't really bother that much. So what triggered it? I had stages of it my whole life. I'm just luckily I found out because it was the real issue is like everyone has their thing. Like, it's funny too because when it was really happening to me, I was like, I can't touch a bathroom door, and I would grab a paper towel. And now I notice, now there's trash cans next to the doors all the time on the inside, and if you go into a bathroom, there's paper towels all. Everyone's kind of has. It's becoming a more common thing. No one wants to touch a bathroom door handle. Like there's those kind of things. What the problem is when it interferes, like when you can't live your life. I mean, I remember one night specific. I was in Kentucky and I meeting some friends, and I go out. And my gas tank was empty, so I go to the gas station. I fill it up. I was like, "This is gas. I don't know. This is chemicals. It's like my body's not covered in chemicals. I got to go home, wash my hands." And I go home and wash my hands, and I was like, "It's probably spread to my body." I go home, and then I actually have to take a shower. By the time I shower, it's like it's already 10 o'clock. I was supposed to meet them 2 hours ago, so I didn't make it out. Like, I didn't miss much probably, but it literally like I wasn't lit. That's where the problem is when it's like I was supposed to hang out with friends that night, and because I thought I was covered in germs, I couldn't. That's where it gets into trouble, or like that could certainly lead to. Well, I can't. If that had happened on the way to work, luckily no one would hire me at the time. But like if that happened on the way to work, and it could affect your livelihood. That's where it really becomes an issue. It's people who don't like shaking hands or touching door. That's a whole nother category. It's people who are just like, intense OCD. And a lot of it is just, there's no, it's like the step on a crack, break your mother's back kind of thing. Like, that if you step on a crack, I mean, that's the cliched example. Rationally, if you step on a crack, your mom's not staying home and her back's going to break. But still, you can't stop your brain from not touching the crack on the sidewalk when you walk on it. It's like, I know for a fact that getting gas on my hand is not going to kill me. I could probably, I don't think you'd want to drink it, but like you spill gas, people spill gas on this. It's like, I'm smart enough to know that, but it just can't process, or like, I know I locked the door. I know I saw it. But I just can't go back to sleep until I get back up and check again. So luckily I caught it in my 20s before it was like, I mean, that's what I always think about when I think about like these. I wonder if I hadn't caught it, I would have become like a great artist. Because like when you think about like a Van Gogh or somebody,
it helps your art?
I don't think. If it does, I don't care. I'd rather be sane. But like Van Gogh, like there was no drugs, no there was no guy teaching you to talk. There was no even diagnosis for it. Mm-hmm. That's probably what happened. Cut his ear off. Like I don't know. I'm just picking a random person. But if that happens to you in the 1600, 1800, even in the 50s, you don't know what the fuck it is. There was no diagnosis for it.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people. And I don't think I would have gone crazy. But like Howard Hughes, obviously, is the ultimate example, which is...
Well, also Howie Mandel.
Yeah, the Hows. Well, Howie Mandel, again, is not as much because they know what, I feel like it's kind of a bit sometimes.
Yes,
but,
I've seen him fist bump.
But also, when he goes on Stern and talks about it, like, we do know what he's now we know what it is.
Right.
But Howard Hughes was, pissing in jars and, like, wasn't he wearing Kleenex boxes on his feet or something?
I actually don't know that much.
He wouldn't.
I'd love to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little too late for that. He grew his wouldn't clip his toenails.
Ooh.
Like, it's just a billionaire from what was the DiCaprio movie, The Aviator? Is that what he played him? Where he kind of lost it at the end. There, like, someone then could have, like, explained what it was. He just didn't. You just, especially if you're a billionaire, if you're one of the richest men in the world, then. But it's just undied. You're going crazy. My favorite part of that, though, was that, which is not OCD, is that he was worth so much money, and it's before VCRs or DVRs or anything. Before cable even. He owned the TV station. So he would call them and just tell them what, there's film, you couldn't even watch movies at home. So he would just tell them what to play. And then he would call when he was going to the bathroom, tell them to pause, to stop the movie.
It's good
come
power.
back. Yeah, and call back and just, like, start it again. Like, it was a TV station, and you're watching it depending on Howard Hughes'
bladder.
Yeah, his schedule. If he had a meeting, like, it would just be, I guess it wouldn't even have pause. It'd probably take it off the reel or whatever it's called at the time.
Well, we should do Just Mirror Everyone soon, but I need to hear the rest of the track names.
Okay. I forget where we left off. Drop them out, eating pussy, kicking ass.
Yes. Better off beating off.
Well, before Better Off, I'm going to give them to you in order.
Okay.
Fighting, fucking, farting.
That title cracks me up the most.
That's the one where people are like, all right, it's a comedy album. But it was, even that to me, there's some seriousness in it.
What's the seriousness in that one?
Well, it's like, you got a girl you're fighting and you're fucking. Obviously, I needed a third F, I'm not going to lie. But I was also thinking, too, like, isn't the ultimate relationship when you're, like, open enough to fart in front of a person?
I think so.
Thank you.
The man with whom I share my life and home.
And your farts.
I was going to say disagrees, but not so much lately.
Yeah, but you're going to have to. At some point,
you got to let it out.
It's going to come out. So I was like, even that, the most ridiculous thing. So that, and then it's Better Off beating off. I'm trying to remember in order. Sit on My Face, which got a great groove to it. That's a fan favorite. And then, Which One of You Queer is going to suck my dick? That's where the character goes homosexual. Mm-hmm. That, again, the idea was to piss everyone off, like the guys who love the fucking chicks, blah 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 stuff are going to get pissed. I've gotten a lot of things like, I love the songs, I love it, but I'm not going to buy it because of the gay shit. Good. I don't care.
They're homophobic, you mean?
I'm not going to say if someone's if I'm not saying I'm not going to buy an album because there's gay shit on it, sounds homophobic to me. But again, it was just my attempt to literally make the least commercial album of all time. It's like, I'm going to piss off every fucking demographic.
Yeah.
Wheeler gets his dick sucked 4 times on the record. He fucks a lot of women and he rips a lot of farts. But he does, and at the end, it was almost just, the storyline of the album is just this man. And this is like a Sgt. Pepper's, it's like a
opus.
It's a story, we're telling a story through song. And it's starting with the fucking and then getting dumped and feeling bad, and then it just ends with, fuck it. Go to a gay bar, and which one of you queer is going to, start sucking, basically. Let's get to work here because I've run out of options. So I'm not saying it's a great story, but it's
it's got an arc.
It's got an arc. Yeah, in the middle they show So that was kind of it was, like what was it? Like Tommy, the Who's album. It's like this what do they call it? Rock opera.
Oh yeah.
So that was my original. Don't get me wrong. There's places in the album like, say, Fighting Fucking Farting or Can't Fuck You Off My, where the story loses some traction here. I don't think they're going to make a novel or a Broadway version of it anytime soon, although it would be.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
So, yeah, and then again, like you said, I'm going out and playing. It's very strange. I don't know what's about to happen. I'm not going to go. We're playing shows.
Although, if you think about it, they made a movie out of Convoy by C.W. McCall, and that was a character. So I think...
What's that?
The song Convoy,
Well, by who?
the guy that did that was a character. That was not a real musician.
Well,
and they made a movie
off
out of that song.
I'm going to say something off mic, but you can, if it picks it up, it's fine.
Oh, cool.
So that was part of the goal, was to do it all as a big thing. But because that other shit took too long, it's just been the music. And because the album's selling, it's like, let's go on tour. And all of a sudden, I'm a fucking, like, I'm hiring band members. You know?
Wait, can I ask a question about that off mic thing or no?
Ask the question off mic.
All right.
It's nothing.
Sorry,
nothing.
Sorry, audience.
Nothing that's happened. No, well, that's. I mean, again, I could be here all night talking about it, but I don't consider it a stunt. I consider it, and I would lose the argument probably. But to me, I'm becoming this character. I'm putting out an album, and I'm what I love. Here's what I love in life. I love comedy, and I love bothering people. Is what it basically comes down to. And this, and you know what? There's three. I love comedy, I love music, and I love bothering people. And this was the perfect combination. I'm just bothering there's a lot of people now working. Again, it's self-funded, but I have to pay them. But there's people. I've had meetings around with the fucking business. I have business managers figuring out the economics of the tour and all that. So it's getting a little bit.
It really is fascinating because you found a way to solve the conundrum of how do I get to enjoy my passion for bothering people, which you can't do as Ben Hoffman because it's not really socially acceptable. You'd be misconstrued.
Totally. But it's so odd is they know it's Ben Hoffman, except the shitty journalists who don't know. And a lot of the people, I do a lot of radio interviews where afterwards they'll be like, so it's kind of half and half. Where they're like, they'll get off the phone and be like, thanks, Wheeler, talk to you soon. And half the time it's like, Ben, love the show. Don't worry, I'll never say you're Wheeler on it. It's like, and the people, that's why I was, again, we've talked about it 10 times, but like, if it's someone I know and like you, and it's not really what you do, it doesn't bother me to be Ben. Although that's just a very rare occurrence. But most like a radio guy loves to play. It's fun for him because he's just got to interview. You get to pick who you interview. He's got all these interviews, and this one guy's going to get on there. And don't forget, I'm also ripping on the thing that's caught on most, which is the least important to me, which is I'm spending so much time ripping on the mainstream country world, which no one can do, and no one can talk to these people. And I get calls all the time from major country artists, like. Some are like, we're fans, we want to meet, and some are like people whose names I won't mention. But the top of the top, and I've gotten shut the fuck up. Like, leave. Wow. It's enough. And I don't know what happened. I just don't give a shit. I was just like, sorry, dude. It's like, it is common, like.
Where does the love of bothering people come from?
I don't know. I'm just an annoying fucking prick. I think it's just like I don't know. Maybe it's just a chat. Like, could I sell records? Could I bet my, I wouldn't say life savings, but bet my bank account on this thing with both like for example, I'm still me, so I'll get the numbers in, and I've tried not to pay attention to it, but it's like, oh, your album fell to number 20 or something on the charts or whatever it is. I'm like, fucking, piece of shit. Like, that's so fucking lame. These fuckers. And like, Ben, we can't play it on the radio. We can't show the video. You can't, the people in front of you, they're on The Voice hosting shows. They're, it's like, yes, both your hands are tied behind your back, but you tied them, is basically what they're saying. It's like, I guess I wanted to make it a challenge for myself, but it's all in the name of comedy though too, because this was the funniest version, and the idea, the whole, the mark, like I said, the Pornhub and all that kind of stuff, and going on as Wheeler and doing all this stuff, that was all part of the bigger picture to me. I just refused to do it until I had an album that I thought was strong enough to back all that up, and that's actually honestly been, if I will get deep for a second, the one rewarding part is country musicians who I love, because I have a sincere love reaching out like I fucking love the record. That's really cool because I don't really care if my comedy friends like it because nothing against them, but just they're gonna say, you know, they're my friends and they do like it, and it's really cool to hear that. I'm not saying I don't like hearing it, but it's like, what's, you know, everyone says like, you know, every musician wants to be a comedian, every comedian wants to be a musician,
Right.
Like, again, you can't with which one of you queer is gonna suck my dick. I'm not like, but I like, why is the LA Weekly not taking me as a serious fucking artist, you know, like, but I still get mad. I don't know I'm just, again, it's just
because you did put your heart and soul and money into it, even though it's not your
name. And then why am I going to get pissed that I'm not outselling Blake Shelton? Blake Shelton is pumped into, and nothing else. Blake, I don't even know his music. He's probably a nice guy, but he's pumped into how many millions of homes, and isn't he? What's he on? The Voice, right?
Yes.
How many people see him every night?
Right, a lot.
50 million, you know, like maybe not 50, you know, 20 million people a night see him. I can't. If he's number one and I'm number 18, I should be jumping up and down. But to me, it's all or not. Like, I don't. It's stupid to even
interesting.
think of.
You want mass acceptance for this thing where you're delighting and annoying people.
Well, also, I want mass acceptance in something that literally, like, what they're explaining too is like, you don't understand. You're number 9 on the Billboard country charts. 90% of your sales are iTunes. The number 8 sold albums at Walmart. I mean, the country fans are actually, if this is interesting to you at all, they're kind of more than anyone are ones who still buy physical product. So these people buy albums at Walmart. They buy them on, you know, at Kmart. They buy them at Starbucks. I mean, a lot of these bands have, like, I'm nowhere. So you can't compare yourself to them. But maybe it's OCD. It doesn't sink in. I was like, I got to outsell these fuckers. It's like, how the fuck are you going to outsell Carrie Underwood with a song called Fightin' Fucking Fartin'? I'm like, because it's better. But America doesn't agree with you. Well, that's where the bothering comes in.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to buy more, you know, Florida Georgia Line albums than my album, I'm going to bother Florida Georgia Line. Not because I hate the band, just because I'm pissed they're selling more records than me, because they're doing the things you're supposed to do to sell records. I'm doing everything you're not supposed to do to sell records, and it still pisses me off. So you know who gets the brunt of it? Florida Georgia Line, which isn't fair to them, but it makes me laugh. I don't know why. And I'll go on and I'll fucking rip these people. And also there's the aspect too of, again, I'm going over time, sorry.
It's okay. We do have Just Me or Everyone to get to, though.
I'll get to. But I forgot it.
Oh no, did the pressure that happens to me sometimes if someone's like, okay, hurry up. I'm like, well, now it's gone.
No, what I was going to say was there's also a lot of people who are like, because it's not a good, if you're a musician, like, if you're a musician, you're not supposed to go say who sucks and who's shit. But I just go do it because for some reason when I put on that hat, I'm ruthless. I just start making fun of bands because it's a joke to me. It's like, you know, it's no different than giving a speech at the Oscars, you know, like you rip on all the actors and stuff. It's just like, it's showbiz to me. It's not like, they're not real people. But
you're like Triumph the insult comic dog, but
I'm Triumph the insult country dog. But, and he did make a record, I think, too. But a lot of artists like that, and I'm trying to back off this a little bit because, you know, I'm getting these warnings from people, and nothing threatening me, just like, you know, can you lay off? And I want to tell them it's nothing personal, but a lot of the other artists love that I'm, you know, because no one has the balls to talk about. Oh my God,
my dog is snoring.
I'm really getting deep, and this dog's fucking it up.
How audible is that, Jeff?
I kind of like it, to be honest.
It's soothing.
Yeah, I don't think we're picking it up too much on the mic.
Okay.
So
No, I just like that. I'm like
putting my dog to sleep.
No. Well, that part too, but also that, like, I'm trying to be kind of serious, and there's a snoring in the background. But I'd prefer it that way. Don't wake him up. No, what I was gonna say was, there's a lot of people egging me on to keep doing that, to keep making fun of these mainstream acts because they're not allowed. You know, like, no normal person would be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy. I'm like, you know. So while I dislike that music passionately, I hate it. I don't want to hurt people. But when I get in costume, I don't care. I lose it
It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing. I'd be curious. Be curious what your audience. Well, your audience probably hasn't gotten this far. They probably I already bored the fucking. I mean, I put a dog to sleep, so that doesn't bode well for your listening.
Why do you feel like a dog is usually the easiest kind of audience? Dogs are kind of pretty easy to please.
I left that part out. 75% of my album sales were dogs. So if I can't win this dog over, I'm
well, Wendy has very eclectic tastes. I think that my audience would like your album, though. It's really, the music is really good, and the lyrics are really funny.
Well, the other thing the guy who produced it 2 months ago won the Grammy for Country Album of the Year. That's why I'm saying it's legit. That's why people are so fucking. Why I'm saying bothering people. People don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah,
they're like, this guy actually won 2 Grammys and won the CMA, which is the Country Music Grammy, for Album of the Year as well. Mm-hmm. So the hottest producer in country music made this album, and look at this, what he's singing about, and like they just don't know how to. It's too much to comprehend. Thus, an unpopular opinion is born. So it's almost like, unfortunately, I'm already getting the backlash, and I still haven't even sold enough records to break even yet, which is pissing me off.
Right, but the backlash is helping you.
Yeah, I should enjoy it. I never got the lash.
You guys, if you're going to buy something on Amazon, perhaps some Purell, Kleenex boxes, Kleenex, soap, Ben's album, or Wheeler Walker Jr.'s album.
Yeah, don't look for my album.
Yeah. Click through the Amazon banner on my website, AllisonRosen.com. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps the show. Thank you guys so much for your Amazon support. It means a lot. Thank you for your PayPal support. PayPal links on the right side of the website. We have t-shirts available. If you go to AllisonRosen.com, click on the store. We also have ringtones available and bonus episodes available. We have everything you need. Let's do just me or everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Okay. Max Householder says, run into someone you know at the store, exchange pleasantries, then awkwardly try to avoid a second meeting in another aisle. I actually, yes, but I find the second meeting is sort of like that thing where you say goodbye to someone and then you end up walking the same direction as them, where you're just like, you can sort of make light of how awkward it is. I would try to avoid the first awkward exchange of pleasantries.
Can I reread the beginning of that?
Okay. Run into someone you know at the store.
Okay, that's the part I thought it was just a stranger.
No, you run into someone you know at a store, you exchange pleasantries, and then awkwardly try to avoid a second meeting in another aisle. I'm the person, and I'm not proud of this, because in my dreams, I'm chatty, I speak to all sorts of clerks at stores, and I just spread joy with my general joie de vivre. In reality, if I see someone I know, I'm like, I don't know if I want to say hi to them or not.
Yeah. So we know the answer to this question. I'm exactly the same way, which is, there's actually a Mr. Show sketch that I always think of when this subject comes up, which is, have you ever seen this where they say good, they're in a parking lot, and they're like, see you later.
Oh, yeah.
And then they walk, and their cars are parked next to each other. It's like, oh, anyways, see you, good to see you. And then they go to the gas station, and they're like, it happens like 10 times, and like everyone relates to that. Yeah. And it's so fucking awkward. So obviously we know the answer to that one. Right.
Heidi says, when home alone and washing dishes, I worry that I will cut myself, bleed to death, and it'll look like I committed suicide. Just me or everyone. I'm always worried about slicing off a finger or something, but I've never had that particular fear of the accidental death looking like suicide.
As someone, to go back to something we discussed, I would see someone about, that sounds like OCD to me. That sounds like, honestly, some symptoms of OCD, which is, I'm going to die from doing it's an irrational thought. I'm going to die from doing the dishes. Has it ever
well, no. But, just to defend... Look, I believe in therapy for everyone. But the segment is kind of like, here's weird shit that I think, am I alone in this? So it might not be like affecting her life. She might just wonder if other people have this concern.
But I'm saying, I think we're being honest that we don't have it, and I've never heard. I'm just saying I've never heard of that before.
Okay.
I'm not saying she needs
Heidi,
therapy. I'm just
stay
saying.
strong.
Yeah, but I'm saying stay strong.
Here's
yeah.
a question. I have weird shit pop into my head all the time. The kind of stuff where it's like, am I okay? Like that just popped into my head. And I remember looking up that like the more overtired you are, the more, I think they call it morbid ideation. Like the more sort of flash images of like violent or scary stuff will pop into your head. Because I wish I had a good example, but there's definite stuff where I'm just like...
Well, that's the compulsion part of OCD too. But you don't, trust me, you don't have OCD. But yeah, but I think that's just from being tired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just learned, I hope I didn't repeat this on the last podcast, but Michael Jackson, you know why he died, basically?
No.
Is that, you know, that drug they were giving him.
Propofol.
Yeah, propofol, yeah. It gives you someone had said, this is not the official word, but this is what I was told, is it puts you to sleep, but you don't actually...
Right.
Like he had literally
it's not
gone...
restful sleep.
Not REM sleep. So he had actually not... That's why he was going so crazy. It's possible
hadn't had any good sleep for a long time.
Not even had any good sleep. It's saying it's possible he might have gone weeks without sleep. But you don't... But in his brain, he had, because...
Right.
Obviously, he's the only one who's ever done that. It's like injecting yourself. Obviously, he was having major sleeping issues. I don't know how I got into Michael Jackson, but yes, you can go crazy. I mean, like, he died from not sleeping,
right?
Which is crazy. But that's only because, in the rare occurrence, you can afford to have a guy inject you with propofol, where it's an issue.
Yeah, was he injected with, or did he have an IV going every night?
He had that. That's why that doctor had that trial. Yeah, he would come over. That guy would come over and
inject him.
I think it was. And someone else told me that, you know, he had so much plastic. That's why he also loved plastic surgeries, because they would inject him with that thing. He would go under.
Maybe he loved the Versed.
What's that?
Oh, Versed is the drug usually with anesthesia that they give you before propofol. Look, as someone who's had a fair amount of what if I said plastic surgery? You'd be like, what? As someone who's been under general anesthesia a fair amount of times, propofol, there's nothing fun about that one. You don't feel it. It just shuts your lights out. Versed is what is like relaxes you. It's a benzodiazepine. And if it were available on the streets, I would be buying it right now.
So why? Then it's weird that he wanted the propofol.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So he literally just like, I'll bet he was just like,
just didn't want to
I don't
be
have to worry.
conscious.
I don't have to worry about sleep. Just
yeah.
I'll pay a doctor enough money. He'll inject me with this thing that put me under during surgery, and I'll go out, not realizing that it's not actually sleep.
Right.
Anyway, did that get off topic?
Midazolam. That's the actual name of Versed. Okay. Master Twink says, I always change channels during commercials. 9 times out of 10, I forget to return to the original show and miss the ending. No, I don't really do that.
I think because of DVRs, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But in the old days, probably.
Okay. Night Cloud says, occasionally I go really, really deep into someone's media, and they mean social media, then feel really, really creepy. I don't. I feel like that is like looking at porn and feeling guilty for looking at someone's tits. Like that's what it's there for.
But can you define going deep into someone's social media?
Yeah, like going on someone's Facebook page and suddenly looking at posts that they made from 2008.
Oh yeah, I mean, like if it's like a girl you like who you're on your Facebook friends with, yeah, you would.
Or even just a stranger though. Like I will.
No, I agree with you because it's like
that's what it's there for.
It's there, yeah. Then it would disappear after. It would be Snapchat. It would disappear after. That's why it's. So people like it. So you can go, what's going on here? And you go down the whole thing.
But I have encountered that frequently where people do feel weird about having been on your page or on your this or on your that. Like I know that I used to write, I had a blog many years ago. I still do. Well, I still do. It's part of my website. But I used to write on it all the time. And a friend that I worked with felt uncomfortable letting me know that he had been reading my blog, which I thought was weird because it's like, that's what it's there for.
Yeah, well, that's
why I'm writing it.
You should feel bad that you haven't told me.
Yeah.
That's what you should have said.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wish
but
I had.
Also, I think the fear too is like she goes to, like going way back on someone's Facebook feed and then like accidentally clicking like.
That is always my fear.
That's a rational fear. Yeah.
It is a rational fear.
To me, yeah. Because
yeah. Okay.
if some,
yes. Particularly as a married woman, I shouldn't even admit this, but I will.
That makes me want to hear it all the more.
Okay, so the guy that I lost my virginity to, I'm not proud of how he acted. I was obsessed with him for years.
What age are we talking
I was
about?
20 and a half.
Okay.
But he and I sort of dated on and off. And
This
that's
is Orange
actually
County.
This was Orange County. That's actually what got me into therapy. Was everyone around me, and including me, was like, "This is not healthy. The way that you're like pretty much not being treated well." And by the way, it wasn't like he was treating me terribly, like he was an abusive boyfriend or anything like that. It was just that to him, this was just a casual thing, and to me, this was a relationship. And I just didn't understand the fundamentals.
You didn't get it at that age.
I didn't. No, I didn't know how to date. I didn't know how any of this worked. I was just like, he likes me enough to want to hook up with me. He must really like me. None of his behavior makes sense, though. I don't get it, and I'm fascinated, and I'm going to make my whole life about this, and I can't think about anything else, and I can't talk about anything else. And I mean, it was like I was...
Which, by the way, happens at 40, 50, 60, 70. It happens with everyone, but go on.
I was in so deep, yeah. So, and that's what I ended up going to therapy to sort of try to figure that out. But anyway, and by the way, like I would call his house and I would leave messages, even though he had stopped calling me back. I feel like for so long after he and I were done.
What did you try to learn? Well, like what was the therapy? Just because you couldn't. I mean, like, did it help at all?
It did.
I would think that'd be helpful
because
that's a thing that therapists are used to, I would assume.
Yeah, I was in college, and it was at the college counseling center, and I had to fill out this inventory, and I remember, and it was like, "Why are you here?" And I just wrote, "I'm in a relationship that I don't think is healthy, and I'm having trouble getting out of it." And then she became my therapist. She was just doing she was getting, I don't know why she was working at the counseling center because she also had a private practice, but she became my therapist for years and years after that. I wish I could remember what I got to the root of.
But she was helpful.
She was. I mean, I know that one thing she said is, I want you to think about why you feel like this is all you deserve. And I wanted to be like, because this is all I've ever had. I was a large gal and not confident.
Well, I think.
And I did not feel like I had
I'm talking to you at 20, but also like.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had any
also
agency
like, but it's also,
over my life.
But it's also just the oldest story. I mean, it happens to everyone all the time.
Yes.
It's just the oldest story in the book.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as you get older, you learn ways to manage things so that you don't become so dependent and vulnerable on someone, because being that dependent and vulnerable does not make you more attractive to them at all. Sometimes I think that you learn how to be better in a relationship. Sometimes I think, or you just meet the right person and you aren't triggered in the same way. Like that, I was such a floppy, weak-willed.
Do you think it's because it was the first person who gave you attention?
Yes.
And sex, I guess, to be so blunt.
Yes, all of that. But I also was really taken with him, and he was older, and he was cute, and he played in a band, and he was really funny.
But was it like, I don't like you at all, or was it just like...
No.
It was he
called... That's the thing, is he paid attention to me. He just let me know in every way that to him, this was not an exclusive relationship. But I didn't... those words didn't mean anything to me. I didn't get it.
It can't.
Yeah. So I was very much a doormat and would, do whatever he wanted.
Looking back on it, do you think he was not trying to hurt you on purpose, or do you think he was?
I don't think he was trying to hurt me.
Okay.
I don't think he was trying to hurt me.
That's such a shitty thing. I mean, that's a bad... There's a difference between someone who's bad at, I don't know, relationships or life or social whatever, versus just a bad person. It doesn't sound like... Well,
that's the thing, is that, I mean, I had this realization at some point, oh my God, all those guys that I thought were these like bad people that I always selected bad dudes. And there were a fair amount of bad dudes that I did select as well. But so many of them, I think, let me restart the sentence. I think so much of that behavior is situational. I think that someone, when they're in a relationship, in a whatever, with the wrong person, if the interests aren't at the same level, the other person might think, wow, you're an asshole. But maybe they weren't really. Like maybe...
Well, yeah, but you've also been on... But that's when you learn it later, because there's been plenty of guys, and you're just like, who they call, and you're just like, I don't even want to call them. You know, and you're on the other side. You understand what it's like on the other side, but it's just like, if I call, there's a chance he'll pick up, and then I got to talk to him. You know, it's like, it was just a thing. You know, I don't really care. So then you get it, then you realize from the other side of it, like, oh,
they just weren't. It was
he's the Allison on this one.
It's that he's just not that into you thing.
Exactly.
Which it really, and I had Greg Barron on the show. We talked about it. He wrote that book. It was such an eye-opening way of looking at things. Like, oh, maybe they're not, horrendous, toxic assholes. Maybe it's just that they weren't that into me. That was a whole new way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's a good breakthrough. Mm-hmm. I don't know that guy, but someone, who was that told me a story that he was on? Actually, I'm not gonna tell the story because it might not be true, but it's too late. I'm gonna tell it. But he was on Oprah, and I mean, obviously at that time, getting on Oprah's, that's like 12 Tonight shows. It's like a commercial break. She's like, "You're gonna be a billionaire," or something. I heard that's like a kind of
that sounds.
It sounds like, I think it's an urban myth maybe that's just kind of been passed around, like that people talk about, because all my friends who are in TV or movies, whatever, it's like every time someone's like, they have a pilot or something, like you're going to be, you're going to make them 10 million. They use that as the example, I think.
Right.
I'm sure you made a ton off that.
Yeah, I think so.
Thing, but I doubt it was $1 billion.
I doubt it was $1 billion. Yeah. So anyway, all of this was leading to the fact that I don't want to admit that occasionally I'll be like, oh God, what if anyone in their orbit listens to this? Well,
it's too late now. You got to say it.
So lo and behold, because I thought that he was just this sort of confirmed bachelor, even though he was only 27 at the time. So, but I think the
difference between 27 and 20 is a lot, though.
Yeah, I was 19 when I met him.
19 and 20, that's a lot.
So he was 27, and I thought that he was just this confirmed bachelor, going to date a lot of women. He ended up married to the girl that he dated right after me / at the same time as me. Isn't that crazy? To me, that was crazy.
It's crazy, but does it help his argument?
Which argument? His argument was he just didn't want to be in a relationship.
Well, it doesn't help that argument.
No.
But does it help the argument that he literally just wasn't that into you because he found the love of his life, theoretically? Right.
I guess. I never really even thought of it that way because I don't have any sort of animosity or negativity or like I'm really not invested at all in it. He is not, he's like unsearchable. He's off the grid. However.
You're not.
This girl, right, I'm not. The girl that he married, woman, has a Facebook page. So I have looked at that.
Which you've been up and down, I'm sure.
Yes. And that's the one where I'm like, as if I'm ever looking at it, I'm like so afraid that there's going to be a wind that's going to brush my hand into the mouse and hit a like or something. Yeah, but that's what I'm always like. I want to sign out of Facebook and look at the page somehow if I ever look at it. Which, by the way, I don't spend a lot of time looking at it. I'm just saying I have looked at it, but I've been so afraid that I'll accidentally like something because then it would be like, oh my God, she's the same stalker she was 1,000 years ago.
But to defend 20-year-old Allison,
thank you,
which I love to do. He really did. Whatever he said, it was just a way to get out of it. And he was with the woman that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can cut this part out. It just interesting. This Ramones documentary. The Ramones were one of my favorite bands. And the whole band changed after the guitarist stole the singer's girlfriend. And, they were all for one for blah, blah, blah. And this is 10, whatever years in. They played together for another 15, whatever, a long time after that. And they almost never talked. You stole his girl. But he married her. Mm-hmm. Was with her till he died. I mean, he's dead now. So on the one hand, Yeah, I mean, it's a whole. This guy was in love with this girl, and your guitar player steals her away. But they were together,
Right.
That was what's right in that situation? It's kind of the same thing to me.
Yeah,
it reminded me of that because it was like if you steal someone away just to dump them, that's evil. But you steal a guy's girlfriend, and then you spend the rest of your life together,
right? It's sort of,
and it's she did it too.
Yeah.
She wanted to be with him; he wanted to be with her. They're obviously right for each other because the marriage lasted. It literally till death do us part because he's no longer with us. It's the same. It's a kind of a strange. It's kind of the Allison quandary we're talking about here.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, in retrospect,
he didn't marry her to spite you.
Right. In retrospect, I don't know. Do I think he did anything wrong? The only thing I'll say is I'm sure he realized the disparity in our interest levels. And I think there are plenty of guys who would be like, this girl is, and I don't normally use the phrase a stage 5 clinger, but like she's super duper into me.
I don't use that much. Really.
I wish there was another way of putting that. And
Allison, you're a stage 5 clinger, and I'm going to be an honest man about it. Here's the number to a therapist. Get down to stage 3, and maybe we can talk.
Right, like I think there are guys who would be like, I can't deal with this, whereas he would just sort of like.
It sounds very.
He would come and go quite a bit, but he definitely was like showing interest enough that it kept me hooked into the relationship, always expecting it or wanting it to turn into more.
I'm also reading too much into it, but he's. I know you're immature and 20 and all, but he's not sounding like a mature 27.
No, I don't think he was.
I think you guys are probably close.
Probably.
He was as clueless as. I don't know why I'm taking this guy's side. Fuck him. You don't fuck with Allison, but yeah, it just seemed like he was just probably pretty clueless.
That's also possible.
Yeah,
that's quite possible. Okay, this is like we're heading into Joe Rogan territory, Todd Glass territory.
Can we cut this down? Yeah,
we don't cut here.
All right. What time is it?
I don't know.
Holy fuck! Jesus Christ.
Okay, Eric Olson says, when I see a couple who are very different in height, my mind instantly tries to figure out how that works in the bedroom. Not necessarily.
Unless it's crazy. I will remember that girl Shaq was dating?
Mm-mm.
Shaq had like a girlfriend who was like unless it's ridiculous, like 7.5 feet and 4 feet,
right.
Something like that. I'll think about it, but for the most part, the genitalia, but they can always figure it out.
Yeah. When I see women
Guys
who
will figure it
are
out.
tiny, like 5'1", 85 pounds or something, they're probably way more than that. But when I see these tiny, tiny, tiny little women with normal size, average size men, I do think like, don't they get crushed? Or how does that work?
Well, you know what? You know what is something that happens. Is I know this if you're a large man and a very small woman and you get pregnant, you usually have to have a C-section because it can't come out.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
I've heard that before, like from doctors.
Like petite women are more apt to have C-sections because it's harder.
Petite women who are with really large,
because they're going to have a large baby.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're 5. I mean, there's no rules to it. There's not like if you're a small woman with a big guy, you have to have a C-section. But if the baby is more on the bigger side,
yeah,
Shaq side, it's also kind of makes sense. Like if it's more on the Shaq's, I don't think that they had babies, but if it's on the Shaq size and you're 4'11",
yeah,
that ain't gonna work.
No, it's gonna be uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable is putting it politely. Perhaps.
And finally,
I would call it a vagina buster.
Demian Cordova says, when making a sandwich with end slices, I put crust side on the inside to make it seem like regular slices.
I'm gonna have to read that. Can I seriously read it? I don't understand.
Yes, I will. I will star it so you know which one it is. Look, I think I've made my feelings about bread clear. I only eat bread when I'm in denial. When I found it, like the leftover parts of Daniel's sandwich maybe sometimes, or bread and butter at a restaurant when I'm on carbs. But the last time I made a sandwich was so long ago, I don't know. I'm okay with the crust slices though, but in general I find that
again,
you just eat those with, I can't believe it's not butter.
And I know getting through this would help us to get us, down to under 4 hours, but I still understand it.
You don't understand?
Making a sandwich. Hold on, let me read it again. I'm a visual learner, not an auditory learner. I learned that earlier. I have to see it. Well, making a sandwich with end slices, put crust. Oh, I know. Now I get it. I mean, it's not crazy. There's a sandwich place I like, and it always like hurts the top of my mouth.
The bread is too crusty.
And then my friend was like, you
turn it inside out?
No, he goes, just turn it upside down.
Oh.
And I've been eating those sandwiches like you wouldn't believe. It solved
How's
everything.
the bottom of your mouth?
Well, in the bottom of your mouth, I got a tongue.
Your tongue.
So it kind of changed
your life.
I want to say it changed my life, but certainly changed my relationship to sandwiches.
What is this sandwich place?
It's a place in the Grove, because I was working at CBS for a while on a show, and they would all go pick up sandwiches there. And one day I was just like, dude, it was like a wrestler tapping out, like my mouth can't take it anymore. He's like, no, you need more sandwiches. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. He's like, no, you can. You turn it over. I'm like, give me a sandwich. But yeah, that's if I can leave you with anything,
please.
It's if you like those kind of sandwiches, that there's a lot of good sandwiches that do hurt the roof of your mouth, especially. I guess I think I have a sensitive roof of my mouth, perhaps. Turn the sandwich upside down. Try it. It may not work, but for me, it's been working.
Ben Hoffman, Wheeler Walker Jr. Where can people go to find out more? Plug all your stuff.
All right. When's this coming? You don't have to tell me.
I don't know exactly, but in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Tour dates. Well, I'm not going to say tour starts Monday, because who knows?
Right.
But go to wheelerwalkerjr.com for tour dates. Buy my album on iTunes. Buy my album on Amazon. What's your thing? What code should they put in? Oh,
just go to AllisonRosen.com and click through the Amazon banner there.
Amazon. I'm going to say something. Despite all the bannings of my album everywhere, iTunes and Amazon have been really good to me, and not, put it on the chart. Like, obviously they have to put an asterisk on because the album's called Redneck Shit.
Right.
They have to put an asterisk
over the I.
Or two S asterisk T. Other than that, they've been really good about, giving a good placement and putting it out there and stuff. So it is a new world where podcast is probably the best example of all, where it's just like, there's nothing between. Listen, I've gotten the weird email of like, I don't have a credit card. How do I find? Because you can't really find it in that many stores. But anyway, let me get back to my plugs. But anyway, iTunes and Amazon is the place to buy the Wheeler Walker Jr. album, Redneck Shit, and it's Wheeler Walker Jr. on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and the website, and send me your tits on Snapchat.
Your Wheeler Walker Jr. on Snapchat.
Don't actually send them to me, but also please don't. But don't send me your dick.
Yes.
Which, by the way, when I say that, is the surest way to get dick. Right.
It's yeah. It's ill thought out. You guys, follow me on Twitter at Allison Rosen. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe. iTunes.com/Allison Rosen. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. I'm on Snapchat as Allison Rosen BFF.
Oh, you're on it too.
I am.
God,
yeah.
I'm scared to add you, because for all I know, you'll just be like, hey, and I'll write back, drop them out, and I'll be like, oh fuck, I did it to a friend.
Well, even if you write back, drop them out, I'm not going to send them.
No, but like I've done that to actually friends, like drop them out. And they're just like, Ben, shut up. And I was like, oh, hey.
Jeff, where should we go to find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Colonel Jeff Fox. Not on Snapchat. Don't send me your dick.
Where's again? This will never end. But Colonel from where? Okay, because I'm I'm trying to become a. There's a thing in Kentucky where you can become an official colonel.
Kentucky colonel.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of becoming a Kentucky colonel. This album has not helped the process, of course, but I think it's going to happen this year. I think. Oh. So I'm going to be an actual.
Come back. Let us know about.
Do you guys ever do any? Can you live stream the ceremony? I've already been told there's no ceremony and no one.
For you, I would. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Ben, thank you for doing the show. This was awesome. I love you all. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show?